Hello, everybody. We're here with Swiss Keys creator Kyle Kemper and the CEO of Tangem, Sergio Mello. Hi, Sergio.
Hello. Hi, everyone. Hi, Kyle. Hi, Brittany.
Hi. So, Sergio, tell us a bit about yourself, your background, and what Tangem is.
I'd rather talk more about Tangem than myself, but if you insist. I'm Italian. I'm a tech entrepreneur. I've been doing a few startups, mostly in the internet software space, in Italy and in Asia, out of Hong Kong and Taiwan and other countries. Then a couple of years ago, I stumbled upon Tangem, and a few months ago, I was asked to help around and take a little bit of direction. So I've been CEO for 3 months now, and it's very exciting because Tangem has a huge potential in a lot of different ways. We're going to talk about it in the next few minutes. So it's a Swiss company. We have people all around the world. We're about 30 people now. I'm growing the team. I'm sorry. I'm growing the team and in various industries. Clearly, the place where we started with Tangem, being it chip technology for blockchain, is cryptocurrencies. And I guess you're very much interested in that aspect.
Wonderful. And Kyle's been buzzing about you and about Tangem for months, and now there's a new partnership between the two companies and between you guys. And Kyle, you can speak about that.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I had the pleasure of connecting with Sergio a couple months ago. And the first time I saw the Tangem cards, I was instantly kind of like floored, to be honest. A physical card that allows me to hold crypto, where the key is the card. And so we acquired a bunch of them for the launch of Swiss Key in Zurich as a promotional as a gift to give to people. And since then the relationship has developed, and now we have all of these Swiss Key cards in Bitcoin and Ethereum, and they are just an activation portal towards crypto. And we've created a website called SwissKeycard.com where we're selling them. And as part of the feedback, we got some questions around this, and we thought it'd be a really great idea to have Sergio on and have Brittany kind of moderate and host, and just go through some of this and just explain kind of the thought process, the technology, who we are as individuals and companies, our roles, our purpose. For me, I really believe in cryptocurrency and blockchain technology as a tool for financial inclusivity and freedom. And I think that these cards represent major innovation in the payment space and in storing value. These represent digital bills in a sense, and the new use cases that they present are many. It's very exciting, but we in reaching out to the internet, we've got some questions.
Yeah, it's wonderful. We're so grateful for feedback from people and questions, concerns. So we've written down a list of questions that we've actually been asked through Reddit, and we're going to address some of those. So the first one being, can these work at a point of sale? Can I go into Starbucks or a convenience store? Can I tap it as if I would a credit card or a debit card? And in that process, if that can happen or if it will happen, does it expose my private key? Does the store know my private key, or does the point of sale somehow have access to kind of very private and secure?
Those are a lot of questions. They require a lot of answers, but all the answers are going to make a lot more sense after I explain a little bit of the tech stack that builds up Tangem. So we're all happy to have our Swiss Key cards, but there's a lot of other designs that we have with different currencies. Like this one is an Ethereum, this one is BGX gold token. We have all sort of stuff, Stellar, Lumens here. There you go. Inside these cards, there's a secure element chip that you can see here. It's the shiny square in the very middle, the very tiny square. It's a secure element by Samsung Secure, and what we achieved with a lot of years of work and a lot of resources is to do elliptic cryptography, specifically Edwards and elliptic curves, which are clearly useful for blockchain key computation on chip, only powered by NFC. So this achievement allows us to generate key pairs within the chip. So in a physical card, you now generate keys and you carry them around physically. Mm-hmm. The fact that the keys are generated in the card means that no one ever has the need or the capability to extract the keys outside and duplicate them or store them. This is a feature, and it's what makes these physical supports for blockchain assets extremely safe. Like my favorite quote is from 1984, George Orwell. If you want to keep a secret, you must also hide it from yourself. If you hide the key from yourself, you can't access the key. It's the best way to keep it safe. You get it if you have it physically. If you don't have it physically, you don't have the key. So this, of course, opens up a lot of questions about storage, about redundancy and recoverability, retrievability. And maybe we can go through your questions one at a time. But first, I want to explain another little detail that is very important to the overall security assessment of these products. The stack is made by the chip, which I just explained, that is packaged in a smart card format. The production is certified by common criteria with the EAL 6+ standard. And just to give you a point of reference, that's about hardware manufacturing in process. And it compares to credit cards, which are usually EAL 5, and passport chips, which are usually EAL 4. So this is a step higher in terms of hardware manufacturing security standard than passports and credit cards. Then you have the firmware layer. So we had to develop a firmware, which is like an operating system that runs on the chip and makes it operate. When it comes to hardware, the best way to guarantee security is not really to open up all the plans and the designs. So we had this firmware audited by Kudelski Security, which is one of the most renowned security auditing firms in the world. And the audit result is published on the Kudelski website. And what's interesting about it is that the footprint of the firmware can be checked via NFC, via the SDKs. So anyone using these cards can single-handedly go check if the firmware running on this chip is exactly the one that was audited by Kudelski. So you have the certainty that you don't have a counterfeit or a tempered card. This is firmware level. And then that's where we start opening up. We have applications. So the way the cards work, you've demonstrated it well in the past, but I just want to show it, is this is a nodal asset card. And with the phone, you can just tap and see the asset. Too much light. I'll tune it down a bit. There you go. And see what's on the card. This is the Tangem app running. We have it for iOS and Android on the app stores, but we don't want to own this part of the experience. We want third-party developers to have their own apps that can read and use and sign transactions with the Tangem cards. So we have published SDKs on GitHub, github.com/Tangem, where you can find SDKs for iOS, for Android, then even binary files if you want to rerun the app yourself outside of the App Store. And that's where you can actually see what type of communication goes on between your NFC device, namely a phone, but it could be a POS or something else, and the card. And you can see that the only three things you can do is generate a new pair of keys, ask the card for key ownership proof, and so to check what's your wallet, and then go then on the blockchain and go check what's the balance on that wallet. And third, for signing transactions. So when you want to withdraw or transfer, extract, or send value from a specific wallet in a card to another wallet, you'll have this transaction signing capability operated by the SDK. So now that I've explained the stack, we can dive into the question, because it makes I can refer to my my previous statements.
Yeah, no, that's wonderful. That's a huge learning experience for me. That's great. Anything to?
Well, I think that was a very thorough kind of run through about it, and I think that's a point of reference that people can look back towards understanding how the chips are manufactured, the purpose behind it, the intention. Circling back to the very first question that Brittany asked was, can we tap and pay with these cards, Sergio?
You can tap and have value transfer from the card every time there's an NFC device, a phone or a POS or a kiosk or a tree, I don't know, anything that has an SDK, our SDK, and therefore asks the card to sign a transaction for withdrawal. So today we have a few POS manufacturers, namely CycleBit and PundiX, that have respectively already integrated Tangem and are working on it, and plus others that I can't name at this point, plus some merchant apps that are going to integrate the Tangem reading capability in the cards, in their apps, in the UX. And in all these ways, anyone merchant or anyone receiver, really, it doesn't have to be a merchant, can accept a Tangem card two ways. Either scan it, see what's inside, and accept the whole card as a delivery of value. So this is great for over-the-counter transactions, for instant, quick, no fees, instantly verifiable transactions. And it's also great for microtransactions, for small acceptance of payments, where the receiving end will just tap the card on their phone or their terminal, dialing the destination wallet, and the physicality of the card on the phone will be the triggering event for the transfer.
Right. So these cards are going to let people, interact with other people and their devices as if they're POSs.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things that we're looking at with SwissKey and with the SwissKey app is on the request screen. Once you put an amount, if you just tap the card, if the Tangem card is present and it has sufficient value, it will trigger a send from the card to the receiving wallet. So that basically turns any individual's digital wallet, SwissKey, into a portal point of sale for a send.
Yes, absolutely.
And then, with someone like CycleBit, now we're talking about the ability to be able to just tap at a vendor at a point of sale and be able to have the amount extracted. So the point of sale vending machine could be asking for $100, and you might have $200 on your card worth of crypto. And when you tap it, it seamlessly extracts it off. Mm-hmm. One of these things, if you think about it, it's kind of like cash. If my bill is $50 and I have a $100 bill and I give it to the person, I give them it all, but they give me back my change. The same way with these cards is I'm not giving them it all, I'm giving them access to it all, but they're only signing off $50. So this is going to be one of the areas where theoretically any point of sale could sign off the entire amount off of a card, but assuring that they're only signing off the amount requested is going to be integral towards a seamless experience. Now we're going to just pay with crypto. Tap, boom, done.
Yeah.
Done.
There's the same level of trust, I guess, if you hand someone a $100 bill to get $50 back from them, or when you tap your credit card, trusting that the system is not going to wipe out your entire, checking account.
Yeah. Generally speaking, merchants cannot afford to lose customers' trust by tampering with the checkout procedure. That's already how it works. If they take your $100 bill and run, then they're not going to have a lot of customers for the rest of their career.
What do they say? It takes, one bad deed takes 10 good deeds to rebuild trust, something along those lines.
Yeah, exactly.
to to break trust at that level.
Yeah, absolutely. So the next question that was from one of the Reddit enthusiasts was, if SwissKey and Tangem are acting as a middleman, as a credit card service would, what kind of services or securities are we providing the users? For example, they said if your credit card gets stolen, you can have it, canceled or get sent a new one. And Tangem provide that service, or what kind of service does Tangem provide for its users?
Yeah, the short answer is that there's no middleman. So that's the whole point, is that we call our solution chip to chain, because we don't want anything to possibly be able to interfere with what goes on between the chip this is a particular anti-counterfeit version, between, let's say, the chip and a blockchain. So by design, our cards come with a generated wallet, but users can generate their own wallets if they want on it. And once the card is delivered, it's in the user's hand. It behaves like a bare instrument for carrying value. So just like a paper banknote, a bill, it is up to the user's self-custody policy and technique and ability to keep it safe. We really cannot tamper, access, or recover or help after we deliver the banknote, because it's just like when after you collect cash from an ATM machine in paper bills, you then waive all the responsibility of that value from the bank. At that moment, it's in your pocket, and then you're responsible for guaranteeing the safety, or whatever, the continuity of value of that asset.
Yeah, one of the things I think that people might think about is, when they just see a card, they just associate with a bank card or a credit card.
I know.
A bank card
and
or a credit card,
yes.
Card, and where they're holding on to your value, and they have the ability to cancel or do a chargeback or do.
I know. That's one of the reasons why we decided to use a different format. So these cards are skinnier. They have a slightly more elongated form factor than a credit card, partly because we want to immediately give the message that this is not a credit card or debit card. This is not a bank card. There's no bank. No. It's a value card without the bank. You can say store value card, although there's a history of store value cards that work in a completely different way, whereas these are blockchain value card. So whatever they represent is on a blockchain.
Of a diatribe about terms for this. I call them crypto cards. It's not a credit card.
Crypto card is a very good name. Tangem used to call them smart banknotes. But then I joined Tangem 4 months ago, and when I joined, I said, "Yeah, it's a smart banknote without the bank. So can we just call it smart note then?" Or there's no name for it. It's a crypto card. It's a smart card with cryptographic capabilities for blockchain. What are you gonna call it?
The people kind of decide and allow whatever these.
Our spectators should put in the comments what they think these cards should be called. Yeah. Correct.
Great. So I think it's fair to say that Tangem and SwissKey, you're not middlemen. You're not acting as middlemen or a barrier or a gatekeeper. More of a facilitator.
No. In fact, the more we would potentially know about the users of the card, the more we just accrue liability. We don't want to know anything about the users. Once we deliver a card, that's it. That has its own life. It has keys that interact with the chain on open source software. We don't want to know.
Similar to the cash, similar to a
exactly, and you see, cash has always played a role in society, at least in modern society, because it is very important to have banks in a financial system that they play a huge role in regulating and helping and servicing the economy. But then there's always a little proportion of assets that is in self-custody. And with the traditional banking system, that is cash or jewelry or gold or different assets that you would keep at home or in your pockets, literally. In the world of blockchain and cryptocurrencies, you have custodial services, and then you have self-custody that is either done through a phone or barely, basically means key management. It means this is your key. It's your problem now to put it somewhere and store it somewhere safely. And this is a way to do it physically. And we are big proponents of diversification of treasury management. So people should really put their money and their assets in different vehicles and different custody services. Part of it should be self-custody to a bigger or smaller extent, and that it's very subjective. You may want to have 90% of your assets in self-custody. Good for you. You may want to have 0.1%. Good for you. This is the 90 or the 0.1 could be a Tangem card or multiple Tangem cards.
We're not suggesting as part of the emergent crypto stack that any individual has, we're not suggesting that this is your everything card. This isn't the one piece. This is a piece of the stack. This is a very convenient card that you can put up in the morning and extract at the night.
It's a piece of the puzzle, yeah.
Yeah. So we're
absolutely.
Intention isn't to say no, you shouldn't be using ledgers or Trezors or these software wallets or Casas or even a Coinbase or an exchange. We're saying this is just a piece of the puzzle, just like the way that if you look at the way that you currently use money, you've got it split out all over the place. And these represent just the digitization of cash, in my opinion.
Yeah. That's great. So this goes on to some of the other questions that we saw in Reddit this morning as to what happens if Tangem or SwissKey were to dissolve or disappear, or the app were to not work. How would people be able to access the funds they made on?
The only real thing we should fear is if a blockchain dissolves. I'm not too worried that Bitcoin is going to disappear tomorrow, for example. But every other layer of the stack, as I explained earlier, is independent. So the chip, well, it's physical. Once you have it in your pocket, it's not dissolving. The firmware is fixed and cannot be changed on the chip. The app may disappear. Tangem may not exist next year. I wish not. But in that case, on GitHub, you can find the SDKs to build an app to use the Tangem cards. And there's also binaries already to install it right away. And third-party wallets and applications are building on Tangem SDKs today. So there will be an ecosystem of independent third parties that have their own interfaces to use the Tangem card. So as long as a blockchain exists and stays there, we're good. We don't need Tangem, we don't need SwissKey, and the cards are the ultimate self-custody tool because they don't depend on a specific person or company to exist in order to be operated.
Right. Yeah. Wonderful. Yeah, and some of the other questions I think you've already answered, like can the card be disabled? But from what I understand, it's like cash. If you lose your cash, you can't call the Federal Reserve and be like, can you turn off that $100 bill that I just lost?
Exactly, yes.
And can a card be disabled? No. And can a thief or someone steals your card or comes near you, can someone extract money from the card?
That's a very good question. So as I mentioned before, the way to sign a transaction to withdraw, transfer funds from a specific card wallet is to tap it on a terminal that uses our SDK to ask the card to send a transaction. That has to be a contact or NFC. It has to be less than an inch or very close, let's say, contact on a terminal. To prevent drive-by attacks where someone would come over next to your coat or wallet or jacket and try to tap a phone and scan a card on the go, it's already very unlikely. But let's say that if that was possibly an attack, we call it drive-by attack, we have a few ways to defend the user from. One is called security delay. We can configure the cards to have a variable duration security delay. The first time that a phone asks a card for a transaction signing, the card will have to stay next to the terminal or the NFC terminal for a number of seconds, configurable from zero to
on
thousands.
Cards, we've got a 10-second delay. So
exactly.
First time you want to send money off of the SwissKey card, you have to put it on the phone and hold it for 10 seconds. There's a count.
Yes.
And it triggers it. And then after, the next time you want to send money off that card, it's just a one tap. So meaning that you, on your phone, once you successfully
you've paired it,
then it's easy and seamless. But, you know, to some third-party person that you don't know or don't trust, if they come, they're going to need there to be 10 seconds. And like the sophistication of that attack is pretty advanced, that it would require, well, we won't even really go into it. People can understand.
We can also do PIN codes, which require to know a PIN code for a card. We haven't really recommended it so far just because, you know, a self-custody tool with a PIN code means that if you forget the PIN code, is like having a $100 bill and you forgot where you put it. We can also do second factor authentication. There's many ways to protect the assets. And
PIN codes would be a really cool way. I could especially, like, you know, nullify any drive-by attack. And
also, interestingly, RFID sleeves, RFID blocking sleeves, like most new wallets stuff, are also a protection vehicle. Also, if you stack multiple cards together, like I'm doing now, like I have 4 cards, and if I put them next to the phone will not be able to read it. They act like a Faraday cage on each other. So if you stack 2-3 cards together, then they're already protected from the outside world. So buy more Tangem cards.
And keep them together. I know, like, I have a secret wallet. I don't have it on me right now, but it's super awesome. But my only challenge with that wallet right now is it's built for traditional form factors. So we should look at getting, you know, some form factor sleeves made to discreetly hold all your new digital cash. And this also goes beyond cash too. And that's the difference between, that's where it seems like, in talking with you, there's a lot of opportunities in the identity space, in the security space, in the loyalty space, to use these cards for more than just cryptocurrency. When you have this security,
and anti-counterfeit, I was telling you earlier. So we have these NFC tags that are nothing more or less than the wallets, except they are just cut in a circular shape. And when tapped on a phone, they can be used as non-fungible tokens for proof of authenticity.
Oh, wow. Look at that.
This one is specifically an Ethereum NFT tag. I don't know if you can read the phone, but you can do different applications for luxury, for food provenance, for industrial parts, for drugs, and anything that requires blockchain-based proof of authenticity and unicity. And since the keys are generated on tag, it's almost impossible to copy them. I don't say impossible, because then the Redditors are going to go ballistic on me, but let's say very, 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 very hard. Try it again. Good luck. Want to try some side channel attack on Tangem cards? Go ahead. Let me know how it goes.
Challenge. So moving on to the next Redditor question. Was, do you have to have a cell phone and the app to use this card? And also, if so, what is the advantage of using the Tangem card and the app as opposed to just using a Bitcoin digital wallet on your phone?
So the question is, what's the advantage of using a card rather than keeping the keys on a self-custody phone wallet? Well, portability. This also works when you don't have electricity or battery, or if you lose it or it goes underwater, or it's deliverable. So if I want to give it to my daughter or my friend to use or spend, or as delivering value, I'm definitely not gonna keep the phone. It's water resistant. It's light. It's an easy UX. The fact that you can tap and see the value, see the balance. There's a lot of benefits. It's complemental. I mean, one doesn't exclude the other. The point is that you don't necessarily need a phone. I see it as an extension of the phone, specifically in some markets or situations where you don't always want to have the phone with you, or you may not have a phone.
The battery might be dead, for example.
Yeah, or your family member has a phone where you can reload and practice. But then when you go around for spending or for caring or for transacting, you no longer have access to that phone, then you don't need the phone. It's in that sense, it can behave like a store value card. You don't need a phone to check the value on your Oyster or Octopus or Easy Transit card every day. You just, when you tap it, you see how much is left. That's it.
Yeah. Okay, great. So you don't necessarily need the phone to use it. Your phone could be dead or somewhere else. And if that phone, you lose your phone, you can get a new phone, and the money is still on the card, and you can pair it with your new phone or any other.
And you'll be able to work, and you can use somebody else's phone to verify that, to make a transaction or to get the address to load it. And as long as you remember, like, the core tenet to these cards is your card, your key. Like, that whoever has the card has the key. So, you know, when I have this, I can go, I don't need to have internet access. I don't need to have a phone. I can go to, like, you know, in this future state, once we have more tap and pay kind of integrations place, I'll be able to just go and be able to tap and, you know, make a payment and be able to verify the balance, or, you know, tap to get paid too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and we do sell developer cards. I don't have one to show now, but they are configurable. So if developers want to try with all various PIN codes and security delays and ways to implement second factor authentication, then they're welcome to play around with the cards.
Yeah, and I think this might be a good time to talk about what you mentioned earlier, with users can have the ability to generate a new key.
Yeah, absolutely.
That was something that was coming up on Reddit. There was a lot of your keys, your coins, and also this notion of pre-installed, which leads to some more. Why don't you just show us right now?
Yeah. So this is one of our first collectible Bitcoin card, limited edition, and like most cards, it depends on the configuration of the firmware. As I said, the developer cards allow you to do everything. Some cards that you see in circulation may allow it, some not. But the point is that the key generation is one of the three things you can do with this chip, and I can show you live from the Tangem app. I can also lower the light a bit so that you can see better on the screen. The Tangem app is a card there. I can go on details, and it shows a lot of details about the genuinity of the firmware, the chip, and the asset on the blockchain. And then if I want to see further details, I have an erase wallet button there. If I press it, since this card has no value, it would allow me to erase it. It would ask for a security delay, and this is what we were mentioning before. This one I think is a 30-second or 60-second. We can wait, and as we wait, I'll explain better what happens. So now the SDKs are asking the NFC to the chip to please erase the key pair and make space. And the next time I'll tap a card on the phone, it will say, "Hey, I'm an empty wallet. I'm empty. I don't have a key pair. Do you want to create one?" And that's where we will give the command to the chip to generate a new key pair. And this is where we are unique in having developed a chip that only with the power of NFC can generate a new key pair. See, it will ask for new wallet creation. And if I tap here, I have a new wallet.
Okay, and then this key is only
0 BTC. There you go. And if I go check, this is
giving you an address.
Yeah, it's a new address with a new QR code. If anyone wants to send me some Bitcoin, please send them here. I promise I won't delete it anymore. Because clearly, if you erase a wallet, anyone sending value to that wallet will send it to Entropy, because you can no longer claim it. That's also why it's important in a user education perspective to make sure people understand what it means to erase a wallet from a card, because it's you no longer have that wallet. No one has. It's gone forever. So if you're planning to receive funds on that public address, don't erase the wallet.
Okay. It's like you need to update your email or your phone number. You need to reach out to all your friends if anyone.
It's exactly like forever erasing an email address.
Okay.
Yeah, and you can never be recovered again.
You really want to be sure that you want to do it before you do it.
You don't want that to be where you're getting paid every week.
Yeah. exactly.
So there was like an overwhelming fear that there was some secret treasure chest where Tangem is holding on to people's private keys or these keys that you're creating that are on the cards. From what I understand, it doesn't exist, but can you just reiterate that?
You're muted.
Thanks. We can't, because the way the firmware works is that the keys are generated on chip and never come out. And Kudelski audited this fact of keys never coming out. So usually we deliver the cards with a wallet pre-generated for just purely for user simplicity and experience. But you can regenerate your own keys, and you can assess yourself using the SDK that all that happens between the phone and the card is that the phone will ask the card to generate keys. That's it. And so you can also see from the SDK that you can't request the private key to come out. So that's ultimate proof that we can't take the keys out.
And so it's like it's possible that you could one day get a card in the mail and it doesn't have the address on it. It just says create wallet.
Yeah, sure.
Create it.
Yeah. So in fact, our app is programmed in a way that will prompt you to create one right away, as you've just seen.
Right. And in terms of the entropy, where does the entropy come from?
For key generation, the randomness. Yeah. I can add some details later in the comments about the many ways that this type of chip uses analog and other type of sensors to create the randomness required for key generation. It's standard chip stuff. I'll have my CTO write a whole paragraph if you want about it.
Well, it's so wonderful. We're so grateful for these questions and concerns because, they're all ones that we've had ourselves looking at other companies or systems in place. And it's great. It allows us to share information. It's very easy to understand for us, or that we know that we maybe haven't shared with other people in a way that's understandable, or put it on the website. So this is such an opportunity to talk about this.
Yeah, if I can put a little plug also on our store. If you go on tangemcards.com, you can see different type of collections of various currencies, and in the near future we will add also tokenized asset like the Digix Gold and diamonds, and there's a lot more stuff coming, and possibly stable coins in the next few months also. So there's a whole new world of fintech that is converging traditional finance and blockchain, and that's going to be very exciting.
Right. So like in 10 years from now, we should all be having multiple of these cards for different purposes.
Absolutely.
Going to unlock.
Yeah, not to mention authentication. I mean, the fact that you can securely and easily manage keys physically means that we basically have reproduce what YubiKey did for physical authentication for blockchain.
Right, which is massive.
It's a future.
It's the future. And I mean, I just know that, like, especially in introducing other people to crypto, and, as we near the holiday season as well, that these are amazing tools to give to others to help, give the gift of crypto in a conversation, in discussions around how this technology works and how it's different, and how we have a new way of doing things. And, just helping people become a little bit more comfortable and familiar with this technology. I know that a lot of people are really, 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 well, basically everybody is familiar with cards, and not everybody has been familiar with mobile apps.
Yeah. It's we call it physical onboarding with physical onboarding with zero learning curve. That's what we call it, because you can approach the world of crypto step by step, whereas your first step is receiving a physical instrument. You have it, you own crypto, you can manage it, and you can take your time to learn how exactly to transact with it. Whereas the usual approach is install the app, go online, key, the username, the password, the seed sentence. Oh my God. So someone that is not tech savvy or doesn't have that energy or time or mindset to learn 20 things in one go may be put off. Whereas with Tangem cards, you can literally put the asset, the crypto, in someone's hand. And that first step is very easy. And you don't need to teach people how to keep a card safe, right? Because they already know how to keep their driving license or current wallet safe.
Right.
Yeah, it's so easy. It's so profound.
Yeah,
Well,
and they're,
great.
and it's low cost considering a lot of the other options out there. And I know from from a conference perspective, having attended so many conferences, like you're at a conference right now, you see the swag that all these companies have. Like, these are amazing swag. It does purpose for the business to be able to give these out. You're doing a service to the industry by getting more of these cards out.
Yeah, and I've seen the reaction from people. People really light up and get excited, and people have know nothing about crypto, and it seems all cryptic, and like they can't put it together, and they get one of these cards, and it's like you see a light go off on them, and they're like, "Wow, it's like it's a thing," and then they feel like their phone, and yeah, it's so great. Really powerful tool, exciting.
Distributing joy. My favorite thing is just to leave a card on the table and have people ask about it, and then show them, yeah, look, this is a tokenized gold, and this card has this was my wallet from before, and this card has 1.3 grams of gold inside. And then it starts a conversation, and then you can start explaining the concept of tokenization and blockchain, but it relates to anchors that a non-tech savvy person already has in their daily life. That's what's important: the physicality, the asset type, the asset class, the touch and go on the phone. All these mechanisms are already ingrained in people's habits. That's what's important.
Yeah, and that integration you have with the Android is so nice and so clean.
Yeah, so I really had to say it here. I know that I shouldn't say anything negative, but Apple has really made it hard for developers to deal with NFC. It's a bit unfair, but I think they're going to fix it. Let's be positive about it. It works on iPhone.
The amazingness of
you have an iPhone, right? So
I have an iPhone, and it works. But like the integration with the Androids, by just being able to touch it to the back.
Yeah.
Loading
so Android has the background scan capability is called NDEF, and it's a feature of NFC, which means it's a tag. Let's see what's inside, and there's some components to it. One is a URL that can be opened up, and that iPhone has integrated, and there's but Android has a specific tag called AAR. I think it's Android Application Record, which means, hey, you tag, what applications do we actually refer to? And then we can configure the cards to open up the Tangem app or our third-party wallet apps directly, so that, as I showed, when you tap a card on a phone that is unlocked, but in another app. So, for example, I could open, Spotify, and if I'm here on Spotify, now you can see what I'm listening to, and you put a Bitcoin card on it, then it goes directly on the Tangem app with the proper scanning and reading. So yes, Android is a very good platform for developers, because you can clearly access a few more features that allow you better vertical integration.
Great. Well, wonderful. I thought I've learned so much myself. I'm so happy we got to address some of these questions that have come up. I thank you for your openness and for having the discussion with us.
Thank you for being good promoters of crypto. The world needs more people like you that explain why it's good.
Doing the best we can. Thank you, Brittany, for moderating and hosting and guiding us through this discussion, because when questions are asked, they're all valid, and we want to be able to answer them and share
Absolutely
into our thinking, because it's easy to take things at first value and make assumptions, but it's important to also question our assumptions and understand deeply the truths, if you will, and also like where the trust lies in this whole schema. Because at the end
trust is important.
At the end of the day, our intentions are to help bring this technology to the world and to help raise the vibration by making financial sovereignty a reality.
Absolutely. Fantastic. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Sergio. Looking forward to seeing you.
Bye.
Bye.
Okay.
Bye-bye.